welcome back. This is Sassy Jack Stitchery and YonderWays, and this is going to be a fun video. I know a lot of you have started stitching Hannah Longstreth, which is a stitch along with Fiber Talk that we're sponsoring, and we have an incredible set of models here from Queenstown Samplers, who is the designer for Hannah Longstreth. So now is a perfect time to share all of those with you, and I finally got a start so I can actually share my start on Hannah. So first let me show you what I don't have. The model for Hannah, she's at a local shop to Barbara, who's the owner of Queenstown, but this is what the model looks like, and you can tell it's got that beautiful squirrel there, so we're pretty excited about that. But we have a lot of other beauties here, and we actually have been very privileged to be able to purchase some of the antiques from Barbara's collection. So I won't be showing those to you today, but we did another Fiber Talk. We did another Flosstube with Barbara Hudson of Queenstown Samplers maybe a year or so ago, and we had some beautiful, gorgeous antiques with us that she brought to show us. So go back and take a look at that if you want to see the antiques. A lot of those are in our collection, and so when the day comes that we get to reopen the shop, hopefully we'll have some of those on display for you that you can see up close and personal. So today we're going to be looking at models, which we're pretty excited about. Okay, so with that said, let's get started. I want to start because, you know, we're in North Carolina. We're in Weaverville, North Carolina, and I suppose I should say that. If you just stumbled upon us and this is your first time watching one of our videos, we are Sassy Jack Stitchery, and we have a needlework shop in Weaverville, North Carolina, which is in western North Carolina in the mountains, the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains. And we are just north of Asheville, just barely north of Asheville, really kind of a bedroom community. The street that runs on Main Street right in front of our shop, you can follow that about 4 miles and it'll take you right through downtown Asheville. So, and we do videos on trunk shows. We do a little chat here and there, and we do some teaching videos. And you can find all of those under Sassy Jack Stitchery or YonderWays, which is our teaching name. So if you haven't subscribed to our videos and you enjoy it, we hope you subscribe. And if you want to get notifications when we put new ones up, you can click on the little bell there. I think that's how that works. And then you'll get a notification that we've put a new one up, which is particularly important if you're doing our Learning Stitches video series or our beginning needlepoint videos. So I want to start because we are a North Carolina shop, and I'm from North Carolina. I literally grew up maybe 4 miles from here, maybe not that far. Three exits on the interstate from here. I grew up here, and then I went away for a long time and traveled a few places and wanted to come home and found my way back home. So I've been here for about 4 years and very, very happy to be home. So this first sampler was new to 2020. And we love this one. This is Mary Jane Sanders. And she has quite a story from Queenstown. And Barbara has done some videos on these and talked about them a little bit. So you can catch those with Fiber Talk or on some of our earlier ones. But this one's from Chatham County, North Carolina. And we love it. It's a sweet little simple sampler. And it's got the 23rd Psalm, which we know is the Lord's Prayer, on it. And it's 1732. So, a lot of fun. I love this one. I know that's not fair for me to keep pulling it back to look at it, but that's the way these things go. And this is a very manageable size and stitch style. So if you're a beginner and you love this one and love that sweet little butterfly and those little birds, you can do this one. I believe it's all cross stitch. It is. The name and some of the verses over 1. Everything else is over 2 cross stitch. So that's our North Carolina sampler. Had to start with that one. Okay. And then I'm going to move on to my favorite, which I showed you in another video recently. One of my two or three favorites. I've got 3 Queenstown samplers. This is perforated paper, and this is the antique. And this is Elizabeth and Bartholomew. And we, you can find all these charts on our website. This one, you can stitch it on perforated paper or you can stitch it on linen. And I promised myself I was going to stitch this one this year, so soon you'll see me stitching it. But I love this sweet little guy. And it's got this really cool border that you can't see in here, but it alternates colors, and Barbara was able to chart that in her reproduction, which I just loved. So I had to share that one with you. Well, before we get too far, let me jump over to Hannah, because we kind of started with Hannah. This was the picture of the chart for Hannah. Hannah is charted using needlepoint ink silks. And so we do have plenty of these kits of silks left. It's a beautiful color palette. And the model was stitched on 45 count jersey cream, which this is actually a 37 count Russian tea cake, and very, very similar in colors. So as you can see, the silks look beautiful on it. And so we've been kitting it both ways. You can get the 45 count jersey cream, which we do still have in stock, with the silks, or you can get the 37 count Russian tea cake. And those are both kits out there. They are both discounted at 15%. The discounted price, which includes the chart, is $130. And so, you know, if you haven't bought a kit yet and you're enjoying seeing people stitch that, then, you know, get out there and think about getting your kit. The other way that we did it is we offered some banding choices. And I did an earlier video where you can go back and look at those banding choices. But I think I did 3 different choices on banding. And you could stitch it over 1 or you could stitch it over 2. Actually, I did 4 different banding choices, 2 over 2 and 2 over 1. And 2 are on cream, a very similar color to what I just showed you with the Russian tea cake, and 2 are on a natural color, which is what I opted for. So I'll show you my start. So I started with the first motif in the sampler, a pretty little flower. It's a very fun, easy stitch on this banding because the banding is a 28 count banding. So I actually started right here. But now I'm going to show you something. A friend of mine named Debbie started somewhere else, and it's beautiful. And I'm going to put a picture in here for you. She started with this motif right here over the name. So it's the little birds. And she kind of centered this over Hannah's name and the date. And she stitched the name and the date, and she was doing this on banding. She stitched the name and the date long ways like this over one thread, and it fit. Now, I had suggested to you folks who are stitching on banding to stack it if you were stitching vertically like this. Some people are stitching horizontally going this way. And going horizontally, you definitely, I think, need to stack it as well. But you can choose what you do with that. But when I saw her start where she had these 2 birds over the name, I thought that was perfect. And I should have done that. But I had already put 7 whole stitches in mine, and I was not taking it out. So I wasn't willing to take mine out. This was a stitch night Thursday night. We've been doing some Zoom stitchings, and anyway, so I carried on. Now, so I've got the left to right. This is the one I started. I might drop down and do do this one next. That's the cool thing about doing it on banding. You can mix it up. You can do whatever you want. It's all fun and games there. The squirrel, of course, is going to be somewhere near my name, so I will add my name to this on the banding too. But it's been a really nice, fun, enjoyable stitch to stitch it on banding. Now, for me to get the right coverage on banding, I use 2 strands of silk. So when you buy the kit and you bought the kit, you got 1 set of silk. Now, I would not encourage you to come back and buy a whole nother second set of silks, because I don't know which ones of those you're going to need. Another full skein of versus maybe you just need 1 skein. So needlepoint ink silks do have a dye lot, and they really are very consistent. And you're switching motifs anyway. So if you're doing this on banding and you're stitching with 2 strands and you just realize that maybe you need a whole nother set of silks, I would not encourage you to buy a whole nother set of silks. I mean, clearly, if you want to, we'll sell it to you and send it to you. I think you ought to wait and see what you need and then come back and buy what you need, because needlepoint ink are really quick to send us stuff. They're easy to get. Lots of people enjoy stitching with it. People either are really devoted to a Versoix or really devoted to needlepoint ink, and then you have people like me who are in between and really enjoy them both, which serves me well as a shop owner, to be honest. I like them both, but I do like them both. Wait and see what you need. and then hit me back up. I don't think you're going to have any trouble with dial A, because you're going to be on a different motif. I mean, if you're stitching a motif and you're getting ready to run out of thread, you might want to hit me up then before you start the motif. We'll just make sure. But if you've finished a motif and you're like, I don't know if I can get that next one in with this, get me then. You know, I mean, don't order a whole nother set at the beginning of the sampler. You don't know that you'll need it. But they are great threads, and maybe you want to keep it in your stash. They're great. So that's my start on a natural color banding. I like that it had a cream edge. And so the naturals that I picked did have a cream edge, so that it kind of pulls back into it that creamy background of Hannah. So that's Hannah. And if you guys are wondering, if you've never stitched with silks, which I know there are some of you who are stitching with silks for the first time with Hannah, that's fantastic. I hope you're loving it. They're you don't have to do anything special with them. They're really easy to stitch with, at least the needlepoint ink. But I keep mine in these floss away bags, and I write the number of the thread on the front of the bag, and I write the kind of silk or thread underneath it. I tend to keep all of my non-cotton floss in these bags. So for DMCs and Classic Colorworks and Gentle Art and Week, Styleworks, I usually wrap them on bobbins, mainly because that's how I started. And then everything else, so if it's silk or if it's a needlepoint thread, I like to put those in these bags. And then I put the bags on a ring. So that's my organization style with that. And you can do what works for you. This is a laying tool, and this is a different laying tool. It's a little wooden laying tool. I like to use them as pointers. So if you're wondering what that was, it's a really nice little wooden laying tool, and we do have some of these for sale in the shop. Now, when I'm stitching, I like to stitch with the best laying tool, which I've noticed a lot of you are buying those. So those of you who are starting to pick up our counted needlepoint have been buying a lot of those. But this one's a nice one too. So if you have a husband who's a woodworker, put him to work. Let him make you one that you can love on and know that he made for you. My husband didn't make this one, although I've hit him up for a few. He is making me something really cool. Let me tell you about him. Today, he's out riding his dirt bike. Now, he, like me, is in his 50s. And he, like all other men I've ever met, is still a boy. And I love that about him. He gets so excited about going and riding his motorcycle. It's a dirt bike, and he rides out on his family's farm. And he's met some friends out there, and it's a great thing for them to do right now because they are able to be socially distant from each other, which I was really concerned about that in the beginning. So we had some talks, and they don't stand around and hang out and all that stuff. They go out there and they ride pretty hard. And some of them are on bikes. He might be the only one on a dirt bike, actually. I think the others are in these, like, they're not four-wheelers, but they have a name, and I don't know what they are, but there's some kind of little, I like to call it a dune buggy. That's gonna make some people mad, but it's like a little car, like a really ramped up go-kart kind of thing. And I know all you guys who ride know exactly what it is. But so there's several of them out there in those, because they're all getting a little older, so they're taking a little easy. But not my guy. He's out there on his dirt bike and loves it, absolutely loves it. But making things, so he asked me to go down to the basement this morning, which is, he has a work area down there. And then he has a really nice living space. Used to be a living space that is now a storage space for all of my boxes that we moved there from my house move home that I haven't unboxed yet. So I've got to get that done and get it back to him. But he has been making me a steampunk lamp. And so this is a guy who he built the house that we live in. And I'm sorry if I'm digressing and you just want to see the Queenstown stuff. You can just skip through this. Wait till you see me hold up another sampler, and then you can click stop. But he built the house that we live in. I mean, physically built it, not just paid a builder. He hands-on tools, laid the rocks, did the digging, blah, 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 built it. And it's a beautiful house. It's kind of a post and beam house. And it has this great room that's really big, big stone fireplace at the end, monster TV on the wall facing us, which I'm not used to because I don't watch a lot of TV, or didn't. I do now. And then, you know, kind of an open kitchen, a really kind of a galley kitchen, kind of a small kitchen, but an open layout. And I know it's going to be shocking to hear this, I'm a very picky eater. I like to see what I'm eating. And I have this bad habit of if it's a sandwich, you'll see me take it apart. I examine the whole thing before I eat it. He's exactly the opposite. He was raised on a farm, and if it's on the plate and it's not still moving, it's food. So we always have this debate over light, because if we're going to eat in the great room, like say we're going to watch TV and eat because it's just the two of us or something, I want the light on. And he wants it off so that he can see the TV better. And if I'm stitching, I want the light on, obviously. Even with my little lamp, I have a lamp, and I still like to have the surrounding lights on because it's easier to see. So, you know, he always puts the light on, and it's not like he ever argues with me about it. But if you leave him to his own devices, he keeps it off. But he invited me to go down to the workshop this morning, and I went down there with him, and he's been building me a steampunk style lamp, which is great. He made me one about a year ago, which is a tabletop version, and it's beautiful, and it's a huge beastie. And he thought I would bring it into the shop, and I was like, if I take that in the shop, it'll get broken. Dude, you know, I mean, we stitch on that table, we work on that table, somebody will break my lamp. And I was not bringing it in here. So you'll see that at home sometime. But he's made this one that's a floor model, and he's got pieces of it together. If you've never seen anything steampunk, it's like all kinds of pipes and gears. And so he loves doing that because he likes to keep old things because he thinks he might need them. And he often does. And that's part of growing up on a farm. If you needed something, you didn't usually go out and buy something new. You talked to your neighbor and you found something that would work. And so he and his dad both have always had this mentality of, you don't always throw these things away. And so we have a lot of things that probably should be thrown away. But so he loves making these steampunk things because he gets these old gears and valves and things that are literally broken that won't serve their purpose anymore, and he incorporates it into this beautiful work of art. And so he's got this, he'll probably want to watch this video. He never watches any of the videos, and this one he'll be like, I'll catch him watching it now. He'll catch me saying these things. It comes up from the ground, and it's all these pipes, and it comes up over your head, and then it's got lights that come down kind of around you. So there's like 2 or 3 that would be over my head, and like one that comes from behind. And I looked at it and I said, is that going to look like an electric chair? He goes, yeah, probably. I was like, that's great. You know, and it is pretty cool. And so anyway, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. And when it's done, I'll give you a picture of it. And I have absolutely no doubt that we will never have another discussion about light. So I'll be sitting in my little stitching chair with the world lit up, all focused on me. And he can sit over there 6 feet away in darkness and watch his big screen TV. Anyway, it's fun. We've only been married since 2016, so these things are new for us. And although we do go back about 25 years, I've mentioned that before. And I thought this morning of a way to tell you the story because it's a long story. I think I'll do a stitch with me video, and while I'm doing that, I'll tell you the story because it takes longer than the story I just told you. But anyway, that's the whole making thing. So if you have a husband who's handy like that, I'm sure you have your own little tales to tell. But I digressed. So now those of you who are just here for the samplers, you can tune back in. We'll go to the next one. This is Sarah Comfort, and this is a beautiful Quaker. So, and I know a lot of you have stitched this. It's a different kind of Quaker though, right? But it's beautiful. And now the thing about Queenstown samplers is that they are very focused on American samplers. So I think all of their samplers are American. So this is a Quaker, but it's an American Quaker, which is beautiful. And this is just a fun stitch. Very pretty. Just really nice. So that's one to add to your list. Barbara Hudson, who owns Queenstown Sampler Designs is incredibly knowledgeable as well about American samplers and samplers in general. And so if you ever get a chance to listen to her talk or to meet her in person, you know, do that. I know Gary's talked to her at least twice on Fiber Talk. She was on last week because, you know, we started the Hannah Longstreth Stitch Along, and so she was on a little live broadcast for just a few minutes. And I know she's done other Fiber Talks with him, and she was here with us. She's an amazing person. So definitely take advantage of getting to hear her talk sometime. This is the Pom Pom Girls, and this came out last year, and this one is so fun. And guess what? We own the antique for this one, so we're really excited about it. I haven't had it framed yet, but it will be soon. And you can see that antique in the other video, but this one is just fun. And so they're really little folk girls, and they're holding little flower bouquets is what they're holding, little flower bouquets. But they do look like pom-poms. And I love that red house with those little flowers coming up off of it. Very beautiful, balanced little sampler with a great big, beautiful red house. This one's really pretty. So, and I think this one is actually called, I think it's called Pom Pom Girls. It has the name on it, Carlene Johnson, but I believe that the name on the sampler is called Pom Pom Girls, or Carlene Johnson's probably on there as well. So, that's a fun one. Okay, this one is Mary Horner, and she is 1772. And these are just incredible works of art from our American history. So this is a beautiful, beautiful sampler. I love this one. I like the border on it. I like these little flowers. Use my little stylus here. These flowers here. I love those. And this one again is all cross stitch. Well, I take it back. It's not all cross stitch. It's mostly cross stitch. You got some satin stitch here. I'm gonna look at this border for a minute. This border in here is all cross stitch. I was thinking maybe that was a herringbone or something. This is satin stitch, and this is easy to do. Everything else on here is cross stitch except for a little bit of satin stitch up here on those leaves. So, very beautiful. Thank you, Barbara, for letting us host these and share them with people. Really pretty. Get to see me. Oh, laying down there. Okay. This one is beautiful. This one's Hannah Gurney. And this one came out last year. And we had this model last year too. We love it. I believe it was last year. So, when flowers as emblems we survey, a moral they disclose, and youth they bloom, and age decay, then imitate the rose. And so you've got some Old English lettering in there. But I love that scene. It makes me think of an Italian countryside. Just very beautiful. It's very artistic looking to me. It's gorgeous, and I do love the roses on it and the flowers. Love that flower right there. Very, very, very pretty. Hannah Gurney. And you've got some four-sided stitch and some eyelet stitch and some satin stitch and some over one. So these flowers and petals here, the detail on them is really beautiful because it's over one. And that's the advantage you get to doing some over one stitching. These stitches are little eyelets. So this alphabet is little eyelets. And then the numbers here are four-sided stitches. And you've got some satin stitching. So this border here is satin stitches. And And you've got another stitch in this little border up here, and I can't think of what it's called right now. So this sampler does have some specialty stitches in it, but you will be able to get through that just fine using Barbara's diagrams. So Barbara has been reproducing samplers for a long time, and she gives great stitch diagrams as well. Caroline Mason, and this one is from 1803, and this one has a few eyelets in it, and it has some rice stitch in it, and it has cross stitch, and it has some queen stitch, which is fun. So let's have a look at this one. So this one was really beautiful. So you have your queen stitches down here. I have to look at it closely. These are queen stitches, so just a small area of it, which is really beautiful. If you're doing our Mabel Tuque online course next month in June, you'll learn the queen stitch because we're doing it there. There's queen stitches here and here, so all three of these motifs have queen stitches in them. And the eyelets, and then you've got queen stitches up here, so these little guys are queen stitches. And then this row through here, these are eyelets, I think. Rice stitches, sorry, with eyelets mixed in. So on the top here, these are eyelets, and then this stuff coming down, these are rice stitches, which is fun. Those are also in Mabel Tuque. So another really beautiful sampler where you get to use some specialty stitches. And it's so cohesively put together that you don't even realize really that those specialty stitches are there when it's done, you know what I mean? Which is actually kind of nice because you want the specialty stitches to give texture to the art without distracting your eyes so that you notice that they are indeed specialty stitches. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like, they need to enhance, not call away, and this one does a perfect job of that. Very beautiful and balanced. So, just a beautiful sampler. And this one is Caroline Mason. Caroline Mason. You see it up close. I don't know if you can see those queen stitches there on the bottom. Really beautiful sampler. Okay. And this is Elizabeth West, and I believe that this is also another Quaker, an American Quaker. I might be wrong about that, so don't call me out, but I think this one's an American Quaker too. Very beautiful. They have kind of a distinctive style to them. You can usually pick them out. They're not what you think of sometimes as Quakers, because a lot of times you think of Quakers as just those motifs, just a whole series of motifs. And a lot of the American Quakers and some other Quakers have that kind of vine in the middle with some words. So what does it say? May grace and everlasting truth my staff and standard be, the best companion for a youth joined with humility. So that's a beautiful verse. Okay. Elizabeth West, Springfield. Down here it says it. And if you get Barbara's charts, she has a lot of the history of these samplers in there. That's the other thing about her. She is excellent. And I would say she's, if not the best in the industry, one of the top people in the industry to do true historical research, and has been doing it for a long time. She's just magnificent with being able to find things. So you get the history of the samplers in your charts from her too. And I really like this one. This is called The Happy Choice, but it's Elizabeth Powell. And I'm going to read it to you. The Happy Choice. Beset with snares on every hand, in life's uncertain path I stand. Father divine, diffuse thy light to guide my doubtful footsteps right. So, just a beautiful sampler. Love that scene at the bottom. I love how the fence goes around. Yeah, well, so I think of that as a fence, and mainly I think of it as a fence because you can sort of see the fence post here, and then it looks a little different. And I think that she was, and you've got that beautiful peacock in there with that little cottage in the background. So I think she was really trying to give you an idea of what it looks like. I love this one. Absolutely love it. Back up a little bit so you can see it all. Really, really, really gorgeous sampler. See that peacock in that fence. And you've got your gentleman there and his lady. I'm sure those are the people that live in the house. What a beautiful, idyllic setting it is. This will be beautiful hanging in anybody's home, I think. I love this one. And it is all cross stitch. All of it. And the only other one there is in the verse in the name. Everything else is cross stitch. So if you like this and you are new to stitching, no worries, you can do all these. This is gorgeous. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. This one I love because it has a fun furry little squirrel. This is Sarah Comley. So you got the two little houses there, and you got these beautiful flowers, the basket, and got that cool squirrel sitting right in the middle. Beautiful sampler. Let me tell you what it says. I have to read it. Religion, what treasure untold resides in that heavenly word, more precious than silver or gold, or all that this earth can afford. Sarah S. Comley Sampler, October 23rd, 1825. And on the flowers up here in this vase, just these two blossoms, they've got some straight stitches on them. So, another really pretty sampler. Okay, I'm back. I stopped and switched out the ones that were behind me so I could get to these a little bit better so that you could see them. This is called Townscape, and this is gorgeous. So, this is just beautiful. This is Townscape, and it's beautiful, beautiful. And I'm not sure what town that is, and I don't know if Barbara knows, but what a pretty place. Up a little close to get too close for you. Just a gorgeous sampler and a fun stitch. So, you know, you would get to stitch all these specialty stitches. This one is just stunning. This one makes you want to walk up to it and look at it. And she's charted it, Barbara's charted it really super well for you, so you'll be able to accomplish it. Very, very pretty. And so again, this one is Mary Reese. And let me tell you the poem. So, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness, but still will keep a bower quiet for us, and a sleep full of sweet dreams and health and quiet breathing. John Keats. And then that perfect silence. Let us labor for an inward stillness and an inward healing. That perfect silence where the lips and heart are still, and we no longer entertain our own imperfect thoughts and vain opinions, but God alone speaks to us, and we wait in singleness of heart that we may know His will, and in the silence our spirits that we may do His will, and do that only. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, Seize the Day. Lord, give me wisdom to direct my ways. I ask not for riches, nor yet length of days. When this you see, remember me. Okay, this is Martha Pettit, and this is another Quaker. 1804. I think this is a Quaker. This looks a lot like Hannah Longstreth. I might be wrong about this one being a Quaker, but it does look a whole lot like Hannah Longstreth. It's got those two leaves under the name like that. So maybe there's a connection, and maybe Barbara might have that in her charts. This one's a really pretty one. If you like Hannah, and Hannah seems a little large for you to tackle, you might want to do this one, Martha Pettit. And this is Maryanne Bailey. And she's got all her parents' name in here. This one's gorgeous. So this is the one that was hanging behind me earlier that had the really cool sheep and the cow. Beautiful little house there. I love this one. It's very, very beautiful. And you got a little bit of specialty stitching in this one. I think you could manage it. I love the grass. It just turned out so nice and pretty. Just stunning. 1842. Okay. Let me see if I can get it up close and show you some of the cues. How pretty is that? Okay, we're back for some more. So I saved this one to almost the end. This one has glass on it. This is the Friesland sampler, and this is a model stitched by Robert Harris, and he graciously allowed us to frame it and hang it in the shop. And I love this one. Dutch in origin, or Friesland, which is Northern Holland, was just really gorgeous. Beautiful ship there. I own a Friesland sampler, more than one, but we haven't charted it yet. This one is just stunning. So thank you, Barbara, for charting this for us. It's gorgeous. And thank you, Robert, for stitching it for us. He does beautiful work. So, fantastic model. And the Friesland samplers all are very distinctive like this. Like they all have these kind of illuminated letters on them. Some of them do have ships. The one that I own has a ship on it with a whole bunch of little people like that. This one's neat. So many things in here to see. This would be so much fun to stitch, because each little finish is kind of a victory. It's just beautiful. This is one of my favorites. One of my 3 favorite Queenstown samplers. One of my favorites ever. Love it. Sorry about the glare. Okay, it's got museum glass on it. Okay, we're back. And we've got 2 more, unless you think that Queenstown is all just about reproduction samplers. We've got a couple others. And I know at least one of these her husband actually reproduced. Okay, and here's another one that's one of our favorites. It's a blue crab. And I think this one is one of the ones that was reproduced by Barbara's husband. And a lot of times when I'm trying to help Everett understand which designer we're talking about, I'll say the blue crab people, because he knows this blue crab and he loves Barbara and her husband a lot. So this always helps him remember exactly who we're talking about. But this is a beautiful, beautiful stitch. Fun. So that's all we have for Queenstown. That's all we have. There was a ton of stuff. I hope you enjoyed it. It's just a beautiful, incredible collection that she has. And this is just a sample of what Queenstown Samplers has charted. You know, you can go out and check out their portfolio. I mean, they just have amazing, beautiful samplers. Tons and tons of them, all American samplers. So that's her specialty. I believe they're all. There may be 1 or 2 that aren't. Like that Friesland is not an American sampler. But most of the samplers are American, which is just fantastic. And, you know, as I mentioned, get out there and take a listen to some of the lectures and talks that she's given, because she's just a wealth of information and just a very valuable resource to the needlework community. And don't forget about Hannah. If you are thinking about stitching Hannah, so we all just started. It was a May Day start, and so, you know, we're just getting started. And if you watch this video later, pick it up and stitch it. And if you need supplies, let us know. We'll get you fixed up. And if you are looking to stitch it on the called for linen and silks, we do have all that. Or we can sub out a lower count for you in the 37 count if you don't want to do banding, or the 45 count. So I hope you enjoyed that show. I hope you're getting some stitching in, and thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.